Yo guys, what's up? It's your boy TRUEDBZ back with another video. In today's video, I will be discussing low tier characters in fighting games and why I love and hate them. Before we get into today's topic, please hit the like and subscribe button at the end if you enjoyed the video. It does wonders for the channel and helps me stay motivated to create more content like this. Also, be sure to check out my links below. In the description are my links to my Twitter and Twitch, my channel artist page on Twitter and TikTok where he posts his artworks and commissions, and my playlists are there as well to provide you with more of my content. Also, be sure to check out my video on top tier characters and why I love and hate them, alongside the rest of my discussion videos. With all of that out of the way, let's get into today's topic. Firstly, let's define what a low tier character is. A low tier character is a character that most players deem too weak to be used competitively or at a high level. In most cases, a character being low tier has no bearing on casuals or net play, but in rare cases, a character can be so weak that at those levels, the character doesn't play well with the rest of the cast. Just like in my top tiers video, I put together 3 major factors that can determine if a character is a low tier. These aren't the only ways the community uses, but in my experience, these are the most consistent talking points. A character being too hard to play isn't a 100% bad thing, as there are characters that are really hard to play, but still find a place at a competitive level. Consistency is king when it comes to high level play. The problem comes in when a character is hard to play, but their game plan is inconsistent, either due to the way the character interacts with system mechanics or a flaw within the character's toolkit. For example, Majin in Dragon Ball FighterZ at launch was considered to be a low tier character. Firstly, he couldn't combo into 214S, which is a special move that enables a restand mix-up without spending an assist, using meter, and being in the corner. Next, some of his normals didn't work like the majority of the cast, like his 5M couldn't naturally combo from 2M, and his 5L couldn't hit lots of small characters and even mid-sized characters when crouching. Also, his combos were often short and did no lethal damage thanks to heavy scaling, low damaging supers, and the fact that Buu had to use one assist to set up a mix-up and another one to do the mix-up itself, leaving nothing to use for combo extensions. Lastly, his neutral was subpar, so he couldn't force his way on the opponent to begin his set play, or keep opponents away from rushing him down, especially if he didn't have a beam or DP assist. As time went on with various buffs to Majin Buu and the characters that synergizes with him well, now he is able to do all these things a lot more easier and more consistently. He's considered to be a very strong character at this point in the meta, arguably a top tier with the right team setup. Consistency is one of the major pillars of a good fundamental character, and will make or break 99% of all characters at a high level. Character kits are a hard thing to judge, as each character plays differently, but in most cases, the fighting game that they inhabit has a gameplay style that is more beneficial than others, which is how metas are defined long term. The tools characters use either fit the main gameplay style, and therefore competes well with the meta, or they don't fit and either dominate a specific niche or characters, or they can't compete at all with the meta and are relegated to low tier character status. Fairy in the Granblue Fantasy Versus series is the perfect example for all 3 scenarios. In the first game, during Granblue Fantasy Versus, Fairy was feared at the competitive level as the game favored characters who could dominate neutral and gain easy pressure from range. Now in Granblue Fantasy Versus Rising, the game favors characters with fast rushdown tools and easy to use advantage on block or safe on block mid-range pokes, which Fairy either doesn't have access to easily or are methods that directly counters Fairy's gameplay style. Lots of meta characters has a neutral skip in either a fast lariat or an uninteractable projectile, which counters Fairy's long normals as they have active hitboxes and has slow startup, making them easy to fish out. In the current version of the game, Fairy can dominate in certain matchups, as some characters don't have access to these tools, or if they do, it costs lots of resources. So Fairy has been in all 3 categories, from a meta pick to a low tier unplayable pick, to now a niche/counter pick character. Similarly to my top tiers video, the topic of system mechanics being more relevant both in numbers and in strength in more modern fighting games is important to this discussion as well. With system mechanics being more important in how they interact with characters, it can truly dictate their meta relevance regardless of how good their individual toolkit is. Enchantress from DNF Duel had the potential to be a meta pick, but thanks to system mechanics, she never gained meta relevance, and the buffs she did receive over DNF Duel's short lifespan didn't fix these. Her biggest problem when it comes to system mechanics is HP consumption. HP consumption is a fundamental core system mechanic that affects almost every mechanic in the game, like the cube/awakening system, conversions, white life regeneration, MP storage caps, and indomitable spirit. The problem is that she has the lowest health in the game at 900 HP, where the average is 1050, so she takes significantly more damage and has less health to utilize the system mechanics that rely on health consumption. While using HP dependent mechanics can keep Enchantress alive, she can't use them as freely as the rest of the cast, as she will die way faster or leave her in a 50-50 situation where she has to guess for the round. Having impactful system mechanics isn't a bad thing, but developers definitely need to be aware that strong system mechanics affect each character differently, and the more relevant they are to the core gameplay, the more impactful they will be on the character's success in the metagame. Now that I've gone over what a low tier character is and how they are determined, let's get into why I love low tier characters. Having unknown strategies and techniques is a niche yet powerful tool. With the internet now being crucial for competitive success, lots of players often share information and tech for the whole roster. But at the competitive/high level, most players only focus on the current best characters, so some lower tier characters can develop in silence. As the character gets discovered, in a lot of cases, most strategies and techniques for low tier characters are either too niche to be useful or just a weaker version that top tiers already have available. But in some cases, the low tiers can fundamentally shake up the meta if they can either counter the current meta or thrive in a secondary yet powerful gameplay style. Most of the time, these scenarios arise thanks to character loyalists who specializes in one character and pushes them to their max efficiency. This results in low tier characters being able to utilize the privilege of the unknown to thrive for a certain amount of time. But as the game continues, the roster will be figured out, and the true strength of characters will be a finalized result. An example of this is Nappa from Dragon Ball FighterZ. He was the worst character in the game for a long time, but the Nappa community continued to develop Cybermen tech and mix-ups, and after some good changes, and after the rise and falls of some dangerous metas, Nappa came in and broke everything with a unique yet powerful playstyle, and nobody in the Dragon Ball FighterZ community was ready for it. To the point Nappa got overbuffed because the community didn't believe he was really that good. Now in the current meta, we have to deal with an overtuned Nappa Cybermen combination that has very little counterplay and is arguably the best character in the game right now. Privilege of the Unknown helped Nappa more than any other character in Dragon Ball FighterZ history. Mastery of a character is a valuable achievement and requires lots of dedication, but for low tier characters, the value is way more dependent on individual satisfaction. Saying and proving that you've mastered a low tier character and can compete at a high level is a major flex. You might even become an underdog hero within the FGC as the X character main. With enough time, you might even draw in players to give your character a try and have them develop the character alongside yourself and push your main to new levels. Back to self-satisfaction, each player's satisfaction goal is different. Some being the best in their friend group is the goal, and for some, being the best in the world is the goal. Whatever the goal is, being able to reach it will always be a great feeling, but knowing your character is on the weaker side, but still pushing through to develop skills, tactics, and consistency to play your favorite character and prove that you can win and grow with a low tier, will always be a better flex and achievement than doing the same with the basic cookie cutter top tier of the current meta. In my personal experience, Fuqua from Skullgirls was a character I dumped a lot of time into and learned nearly everything I could to play her, even though at the time she was considered to be a bottom 3 character alongside Painwheel and Eliza. Players like Sonic Fox and Softy inspired me to keep pushing forward with the character as she has crazy potential. Though I never mastered the character, I reached a level of satisfaction that I was comfortable and confident with. Thank you everyone for making it this far into the video. Just gonna take a quick break to do some shoutouts. First, shoutouts to my friends' channels. Please consider checking them out as they provide a variety of content, so at least one of them will have something that you'll enjoy. Second, if you live near the York, PA area, please head down to Ready Up Gaming Lounge. It's a place where gamers from every genre can come together and play in a comfortable and chill environment. They are open from 11 AM to 8 PM every day and hold dedicated events every week. For my channel's interest, they run Fighting Fridays, where for $5.30, you can play a multitude of fighting games with various players. They have big games like Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, but they also have niche games like Dragon Ball FighterZ, Guilty Gear Strive, Rivals of Aether 2, and more. Finally, shout out to all my supporters on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. You guys really make doing content fun and worth pursuing. Alright, back to the video. Low tier characters are usually victims of the criticism of why play X character when X character exists, which is most of the time a valid argument because character tools at a competitive level are only valued by results, not uniqueness. But this aspect of character design is often lost the longer a fighting game continues, as dominant meta strategies are pushed into the community and uniqueness is often overlooked. There are lots of low tiers that have unique tools, playstyles, and strategies, but because of any number of faults, they are pushed aside. Which is disappointing as developers put lots of time into making these characters, and it's a shame that their creations are ignored by the majority of the player base. Inquisitor in DNF Duel was such a character. For the majority of DNF Duel's lifespan, she was bottom 5 and sometimes even bottom 3 because there were just better options at the time. But her toolkit is so unique. She has great mid-range pokes, insane corner carry with very little resources, she has a cutscene reversal DP, a cartwheel special move that has tons of applications and even more in her kit. But she was undertuned comparatively to the rest of the meta. Eventually she got some good quality of life changes, and the meta shifted after some needed buffs and nerfs across the cast. Now she's a high tier character that can finally show her uniqueness while being competitively viable. Though in most cases, low tiers don't really get the glow up Inquisitor got. A character's viability meta-wise is important for the health of any fighting game, but character variety is just as important, and character uniqueness breeds variety, even if they're not the optimal pick. Now that I've gone on why I love low tier characters, now let's get into why I hate low tier characters. Learning characters in fighting games are a commitment, especially for high level, as playing optimally as possible is directly linked to your success, and time is a resource so you can never get back. So most players go for characters that provide lots of value for as little effort as possible to save time and energy, focusing on other aspects of the game like fundamentals, system mechanics, player matchups, etc. Low tiers are often way too committal with their options and strategies that if you mess up or your opponent predicts you, you nearly lose automatically. Top tiers usually have better risk reward, as in if they mess up, the risk is reasonable and sometimes non-existent, while the reward is pretty much game winning in most cases. Fighting games have gotten way easier over time, so the effort to play each individual character isn't a vast difference, but it is noticeable if you're competing. A character who fits this description is Vikala in Granblue Fantasy vs Rising. Sadly, Granblue Fantasy vs Rising is a game that doesn't value dedicated zoner characters due to the previous games having major issues with balancing zoners. Beyond just the game not being favorable to her archetype, she is plagued with issues that require character knowledge that most players don't think it's worth learning or adapting to push her at a competitive level. Vikala's items is the cornerstone of her abilities, but not only does each item have their own properties, also the items you get are random, meaning you have no control over what item comes into play. while also having to learn how to use her cannons, her big neutral normals, and learn specific character matchups. The effort to learn for most players is just way too high to commit to a character like Vikala. Effort is the result of time and energy, things players can't regain, so putting effort into characters that underperform is a hard sell. Damage output consistency is the easiest way to determine a reward value to characters. Of course, damage isn't everything, as Oki, frame advantage, resource management, etc. are also very important when determining a reward value for a character. Unfortunately, most times low tier characters lack reward when compared to their fellow cast members in all areas. Reward when playing games fills our brain with dopamine, which keeps us playing. Because low tier characters lack reward consistency, most players become frustrated and look onto characters that provide the reward that they're looking for. Competitive players are more objective in their value and reward, as characters have different levels in different areas, and the best character that provides the best or close to it, on average, is usually the dominant meta character. As an example, Lily in Street Fighter 6 isn't looking good in the reward department. Street Fighter 6 is notorious for its high reward in damage, Oki, frame advantage, and resources from across the roster, with the exception of very few characters, one of them being Lily. Lily's damage is lacking due to odd drive rush cancels and her restrictive cancels into specials. Oki-wise, she practically has none without her drive rush. Her frame advantage is overall average, but she does obtain plus frames on Winstock buff specials. Resources is very crucial as she needs to manage Winstocks, drive meter, and super meter, which often leaves her open to attacks, giving up pressure or neutral, and overall decreasing damage and Oki. When compared to the rest of the cast, she's not rewarding enough, even if you perform her best combos, manage her Winstocks perfectly, and use drive rush optimally. Lily's reward for playing well is unfortunately too low for most players. Reward consistency is the drive for most players. The more difficult it is, the less players want to continue playing. Losing in a game because of things out of your control is frustrating. Even more so in fighting games, where losing one round or one game can be a momentum shifter. When a character has issues with their tools that aren't player owned, it becomes a detriment to the player's confidence in both the character's potential and player agency. Glitches, unintuitive or poor tool design, and developer oversights will cause major issues to a character's viability. Most times, low tier characters have one core tool or many tools with these issues that players will just have to work around, while the rest of the cast doesn't have to worry about these or can even take advantage of these issues. Base Goku in Dragon Ball FighterZ is a character with plenty of character issues that make him feel bad to play and make his competitive viability nearly non-existent, even though he has a fairly well-constructed kit identity and brings plenty of support to any team. Firstly, most of his normals have wonky hitboxes, making optimal combos a hassle, as opponents will just fall out of his combos for seemingly no observable reason. In particular, his 5LL, 5H, and 2M. Next, his 236S is a one-hit beam projectile, meaning hit confirming with Vanish, comboing into Super Dash, and destroying weak Ki Blast in neutral is too difficult and often doesn't work because it doesn't have enough hit stun and visual clarity that multi-hit beams provide. Lastly, his assists are either outdated or too niche to be used at a competitive level. A assist is decent, but overall outdated by today's assist standards. B assist is too team specific and gives up advantages of neutral control, combo extensions, and mix-up opportunities for meter that every character can build. Also, Krillin Senzu Bean is just Goku B but better in every conceivable way. C assist is his 236S, so it shares all the same problems as said before, but with the added issues of a long cooldown and a follow-up attack that barely works. All these issues that base Goku has will cause players to lose games and potentially even lose a tournament if they're competing. When characters have tools like these, it can cause frustration and will drastically lower the character value in the player's eyes. Even if the tools are strong in their own right, it's just too much of a gamble to use them when competing. In conclusion, do I love or hate low tier characters? Overall, I'm way more on the positive side, as low tier characters I've played are very fun to use. In my experience, low tiers have better and more interesting risk-reward gameplay loops, whereas top tiers often have boring and repetitive risk-reward gameplay loops. I do believe that in every fighting game, a select few characters needs to be undertuned or low tier for the betterment of the overall health of the game and its community, like Fairy and Granblue Fantasy vs Rising, Honda and Street Fighter 6, and Faust and Guilty Gear Strive. Though I wish some low tiers were given some changes to show that they can be fun and viable, like Yamcha in Dragon Ball FighterZ, Battle Mage in DNF Duel, and UL in Granblue Fantasy vs Rising. I definitely prefer low tier characters over top tier characters, but I'm just a casual enjoyer of fighting games, and if I was competing, it would be a 100% different story. With all that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If so, please support the channel by hitting the like and subscribe button. Remember to check out my links in the description. Please consider helping out my friends' channels by checking out their content. And a reminder, if you're in the York, PA area, head on down to Ready Up Gaming Lounge and support the FGC local community. That's all I have for today, so have a good evening everyone, and I will see y'all in the next discussion video. Sayonara!